those of you who don't know me, I am Mr. Erlanger, and this is my son Ryan.
And I'm Dr. Ann Eckhart Erlanger. I am the Mrs. Erlanger to Mr. Erlanger, and this is our other son, Aaron. And that's right, we're here to talk about the upcoming blood drive. We found out we were pregnant in June of 2013, and we found out that there were 2 of them in July, a couple of weeks later. We had a pretty good pregnancy. Nothing really, remarkable to talk about. You get nervous when there are 2 babies or more because it's a higher risk pregnancy. And things were going great. And then in January of 2014, I was at a regular doctor's appointment, and we found out I was having contractions, and I wasn't due until March, so that was a surprise, and I wasn't even feeling them. So we were sent to Good Sam on a Thursday night. Thought we were going home that Saturday night after some routine observation. Saturday afternoon around 1 o'clock on January 11th, 2014, we found out we were having the boys that day.
2 months earlier than anticipated.
2 months early, yes, which came as quite a surprise. A good surprise, but a bit scary. You want to sit up, babe? There you go. There you go. And I know you want to show them you're here. And before the delivery, I was having an emergency C-section. I had to sign consents, and one of my consents was to receive blood if I needed it during the delivery. And that was interesting, because you don't really think about when you're going through a birth and a delivery that you might need somebody else's blood to keep you safe. So I ended up not needing it. The boys came into the world a little after 4 p.m. that Saturday. Sunday, they were still in the neonatal intensive care unit, or the NICU. Monday morning, we found out that Ryan here was going to need emergency surgery. So, yes, right. And we ended up having to sign more consents for that, including a consent for him to possibly need blood during the surgery. He ended up not needing it during that. Aaron here came home after about 2.5 weeks in the NICU. During that time, we thought he might need a blood transfusion. He didn't, but it was always on standby.
And then baby Ryan here, when he was in the hospital, he stayed a little bit longer. He stayed just a little bit over a month, because after the surgery, they had to make sure everything was fine and working along. Yeah. And one of the issues that came up was his certain blood components were a little bit low, and one of the ways that they were going to have to treat it was through a blood transfusion. So the day before the blood transfusion, Mr. Erlanger actually came over during one of his lunch breaks and sent me a picture of Ryan, and it was a really scary picture. He was pale. He wasn't really as active as he had been. It actually looked like he was sleeping. It was a really scary picture, and I texted Mr. Erlanger back and I said, he looks the sickest he's looked, and that's a lot from a baby who was born at 4 pounds, 2 months early, and had an emergency surgery. So the blood transfusion was really key to getting him healthy. Right. It's the single-handedly the thing that brought him home. Yeah,
we just thought it was so incredible that after all of the medical professionals, nursing professionals, the deciding factor that got him home was anybody. It could have been a student here, somebody donating on their work hour, just a kind donor who gave the gift of life. And really, to see him go from before the transfusion to after was quite remarkable. Do you want to talk a little bit about what the transfusion involved? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know unless they've experienced it.
And transfusion, which I really didn't know too much about, for him, he received, I believe, two orders of blood. And basically they hooked it up through a little IV that was through his hand, and it was about a 4-hour process. So basically we sat there and we started the procedure. We fed him and held him part of the way through the whole time. And they said it creates a little bit of pain, a little bit of heat, so he'd be very uncomfortable. And we also had to prevent him from crying because he could pull out the IV. So it's a very stressful 4 hours, but it was what was needed to bring him home.
Yeah, it was actually a year ago yesterday. It was snowing, just like it's been snowing so much this winter. The nurses turned the lights down so that way he'd be very comfortable. We turned on lullaby music. It's a station on Pandora that we hadn't known about because we'd only been parents for all of 5 weeks at that point. It's Dad, right? And we held his hand, and Mr. Erlanger got to hold him, and I got to hold him for part of the procedure, and he did really well. And again, just to see the life and the movement, even 2 hours in, he was opening his eyes more, he was moving more, he was looking at us more, and
his skin too, you could see turned from that pale white to that pinkish color like of anybody else.
Yes.
And it was remarkable, the transformation that had just occurred with just a couple pints of blood.
Yes. So I think the message really is, if you can donate and you're really in such a prime point in your life to be donating, your desirable donors, to just consider it, because you don't really know who you're going to help. I mean, I could have been on the receiving end, Aaron was up, and Ryan was literally on the receiving end. So if you can consider donating, if you're able to, if you meet the criteria, please
donate.
Yes, please donate, because you don't know who you're going to be sending home that day, whether it's somebody who's somebody's mom, somebody's brother, or somebody's baby. So thank you for considering.